In a magical world, the world of Kaomundus, the winds of change are beginning to blow. Adventure awaits. An elf with a gun, a wizard cat, a Dragonborn Bard, Robocop, and everyone's favorite bunny are caught up in the winds of change. This is their tale.
Life on the streets of Tirismal is never easy, but for Zorlin, the copper Dragonborn Bard, it's all he's ever known. Never knowing his parents, whether or not they're alive, or the circumstances of his birth, Zorlin learned from a very young age that he had to take care of himself. This entailed swiping a few things here and there that no one would miss. While some were usually disgusted with his draconic appearance, he was fine with using this to his advantage. However, at the ripe age of 15, he joined Trouble in Troubadour Town, led by the eccentric Madame Perry Duvalier. This traveling troupe was made of many of the undesirables of society, and Zorlin felt at home immediately. Before this, he didn't have any semblance of family. Over the years, the madam taught him the ways of the fiddle, and he discovered he had a knack for it. Traveling from town to town, the troupe always put on a dazzling show, with an assortment of fire-breathers, sword-swallowers, acrobats, and musicians, with Zorlin's energetic fiddle music always being the main attraction. His three greatest friends in the troupe were the half-elf Whipmaster Omaric, the dwarf Firegut Barnabas, and the goblin Shifty Sammy. The four of them were the biggest troublemakers of the troupe. Trouble in Troubadour Town would never charge to perform for the commoners, but to expect an appropriate reward from the more well-to-do crowd, swiping a few valuables here and there if they felt the reward was lacking. Unfortunately, one day Zorlin was caught swiping a small trinket, and this particular nobleman was rather uptight. He immediately sent his guards after the troupe. Surrounded, the madam unveiled her true identity as a vampire, tearing into the guards and screaming at her adopted family to flee. Zorlin ran as fast as his shaking legs would take him until he was finally safe. He had no clue where any of his friends went or what the fate of the madam was. Cursing himself for his blunder, he vowed to become the most famous bard to ever live, in an effort to have the memory of his troupe live on, and he desperately hoped that if his friends were still alive, they would find him once tales of his deeds had spread. And so, Zorlin Kaldra set out to become the most well-known bard/adventurer. Ever the charmer, he's broken more than a few hearts, and isn't in one place for very long. However, he has recently heard of something peculiar happening in the Valley of Wild Magic, and set out to see if this humble bard could be of assistance.